Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be covering another Scientology from a Scientologist perspective, but I'll only be covering one article today because it is long and it is full of details, so stay tuned and find out what it is. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be covering Scientology from a Scientologist perspective because why not? There's so much stuff going on. But I want to kind of take a step back and look more at some of the issues with Scientology, remind you guys of some of the reasons why people like me and others speak out against Scientology. So I was looking through all of my archive stuff that I want to cover, which is so much, but anyway. And I came across a Mike Render blog post that I so want to cover today, so that's what we're going to do. It's an extremely long one, so it's only going to be one article today, but hey, it's still a good one. So the post is entitled "The Inhumanity of Scientology." Mike Render posted this on September 30th of 2019. And this really gives you a very scary look at the true reasons why so many people have spoken out against Scientology. And so many reasons why people continue to try to get the other victims to speak out. So we're going to open that up today. So in the opening, it kind of goes back and forth. I'm going to go between my notes. I'm going to go between my phone because I have it open here. So the passing of a loved one is something that is just hard to deal with. Even if you get to say goodbye to somebody, it is still something that you mourn and it is difficult. But it's even worse if you're unable to say goodbye to those loved ones due to distance. You're in different places, they can't get to you, whatever. That is, it's really hard, okay? And I can say that from a perspective of when my daughter was alive and she was in the hospital, I had a few relatives to pass away. I could not leave my daughter's bedside and go to them, so I didn't get to say those final goodbyes that I wanted to say, which is hard, it's difficult. At least with my daughter, I was there the day that she passed away. I got to hold her, I got to love on her, I got to give her all the love that I could in those final moments, which is a comfort. I'm not saying it makes it any easier, but it is those things that I know she knows that she was loved in those final moments. So that's one part of losing a loved one. But let's move into the realm of not being able to say goodbye due to someone's belief systems. The belief systems stepping in the way of that family connection, that blood connection, that heritage, that you've grown up with this person, they've known you your whole life. Because having those connections with non-believers or those who have been cast out is spiritually harmful. That steps up into a whole new realm. That is a wound that will probably never heal. Knowing that you could have said goodbye, but because of this outward force, you were stopped from saying your goodbyes. That steps it up right there. That just right there takes it to a whole nother level. And that's what we're going to get into in this article. So Mike says that Scientology's attack campaigns against those who speak out do this. And he calls them vindictive and unrepentant. These attacks are meant to destroy those who speak out. And this goes back to their whole fair game tactic, is to destroy their enemies by any means necessary. Okay? So, but to look at these, sometimes you got to think about it. Scientology has led people to do horrible things. Okay? But these attacks have led to deaths of family members, with the last things being said being these vicious attacks and these propaganda letters and videos. And they live on as a reminder of that being it. That was your last connection with whoever for all eternity. That was it. Is this religion's propaganda against your loved one. And they will always be used by Scientology. Scientology will continue to dig up those vicious things that they have you say against your loved one for perpetuity. It's going to happen. So Mike starts talking about his own experience. And this is in the form of his mother. And this has been a story that he did tell on Scientology in the Aftermath, so I'm just going to briefly kind of synapse it here. So Mike states that hateful messages from his mother in regards to him were scripted by Scientology, and that his mother felt as if she had no choice but to fall in line with what Scientology was demanding. And I guarantee you that's a lot of people. They feel like this, we have to do this to appease the church, or we're going to be kicked out, and then we're going to have nothing. It's going to cut off all of our social ties. It's going to cut off everything that we have going for us at this time, because Scientology takes over your life. So, in 2010, Mike and his wife, Christy, they traveled to Australia in an attempt to see his mother. He knew it was going to be the last time that he would be able to see her. She was ailing. She'd had some very bad health issues. And from the trip from America to Australia, he had Scientology PIs on his tail the whole way. And Scientology knew that Mike was coming, so they had this ailing elderly woman moved out of the elder care facility that she was in the state that she was in. Because here's the thing, I can't remember if he puts it in here or not. She had suffered a terrible car accident and also a heart transplant. This woman had had a car accident and a heart transplant, and you move this woman in this fragile state just to be the last dig you can at her son. But okay, go off then. Anyway, she was in Melbourne, and that was where her family was. But to prevent Mike from seeing her or speaking to her for one last time, they moved her secretly, even away from her other family members, just to keep Mike from seeing her. So Mike never got to see his mother again. So the last things Mike has of his mother are the hate-filled messages that she put out on behalf of Scientology. That's it. That's all that is left. He never got to say, I forgive you, I love you, nothing. He never got to say not one single word to his mother because of this. He found out in 2013 that she had died only one day after the memorial service, so he never even got to attend her own funeral. She never got to meet her new grandson, and that, again, all that's left in that legacy is these hate-filled Scientology propaganda pieces for the behest of Scientology. Mike moves on to his wife, Christy's story. Christy's father had been proud of her, and she idolized her father. However, Christy's leaving Scientology actually started from her father's complaints. Her father complained about constant demands for money and crazy ethics handlings and other such dissatisfactions with Scientology inside the confines of the home. And that's what led Christy to her doubts that led her outside of the cult. Anyway, Mike stated that he and his wife wanted Christy's parents to meet their new grandson, who was 6 months old at the time. So they traveled to California, I think it was. And Mike stated, again, they had Scientology PIs following them. And they alerted Christy's parents that they were on the way. So Mike said that they arrived at the home and no one came to the door. A neighbor had told them that Christy's mom had, quote, gone on a cruise, which meant that she was on the free winds, just a few days ago. But they thought that Christy's father was at home. He just refused to come to the door. And in later hate-filled videos, that is the total confront situation that Scientology puts up between Christy and her father and Mike and her father. That's the confront. A father that never answered the door when his own daughter, his own grandson, and his son-in-law were standing at the door. Some confrontation there. Anyway, so the last thing Christy's father ever said to her was through that hate-filled video that Scientology had him to shoot. He said he hardly knew what to say, but did his duty by making an effort to destroy the enemy, which was his eldest daughter. Christy's father suffered a heart attack and died. No one, her mother or her siblings, contacted Christy, so she never even realized it. It took an outside source telling her that her father had passed away months after her father had passed away. So she, again, did not get to attend a funeral. She didn't get to say any kind of goodbyes, nothing. However, all of this has not stopped Mike or Christy from speaking out against the abuses of Scientology, and there are others. Paul Haggis suffered from this with his sister. His sister put out messages about him. She also died suddenly. Karen De La Cares, I'm saying that totally fucked up, had a son named Alexander who disconnected from her when he joined Scientology. She was not informed when he suddenly died after a short illness, and they even denied her from seeing his body or attending his funeral. And that was her son. Again, this church is standing in between families, but this is allowed apparently in America. This is apparently the freedom that this religion has in the United States. Again, not understanding why nobody is shutting down this bullshit. And I'm getting heated. So, Scientology outwardly states that family is important for appearances and recruitment only. Because if you actually look at what goes on, family is not the first thing. Scientology's website touts the family unit, and family is the building block of society. However, that's only true as long as it does not interfere with Scientology making money, controlling people, or destroying their so-called enemies. Also, if you look at it, Mike Rinder spoke out about this. A couple of other people have spoke out about this. It's not been something that's been like a light shined on it, but I want to shine a light on it now. If you have kids and you're in Scientology, and say you you make it up to like some like high branch of Scientology like Mike Rinder did, he really didn't have that much to do with the upbringing of his older children because he was always gone with stuff with Scientology. So, no, the family unit is not important. He was like gone. He didn't raise his children because Scientology had him doing other things that they deemed important, more important than raising the next generation, apparently. The destruction of enemies falls a close second to making money in Scientology, and Leah Remini is no stranger to the estrangement. She did not find out about the passing of her father until months after his passing. All of these examples are from an organization that proclaims itself to be humanitarians. Scientology puts out that it is saving the planet, that family is important, and that children are the future. Meanwhile, they push people to homicidal and suicidal mindsets. They rip families apart for control over people's lives, and they do not allow kids to be kids. And what I mean by they do not allow kids to be kids is kids are pretty much shoveled into auditing and constantly studying and being in adult positions because they do not view them as children, they view them as adults in small bodies. So kids are not kids. They are just adults in small bodies to them. So they don't get to have a childhood. And if you follow any of these people that have spoken out, Leah, Mike, Jesus, my mind just went blank. Chris Shelton, any number of the people that have been so outspoken on Scientology, they will tell you that they started working for Scientology at a young age. A few people age of 12, 13. These kids did not ever have a childhood. But go off then, because family's so important in Scientology. Recently, Scientology has attempted to sell stories to the Daily Mail online about both Mike Rinder and Leah Remini. In Leah Remini's attack, in Leah's story that they were trying to sell, it was more of an attack on the show and thus her reliability as an advocate. But in Mike Rinder's situation, it was more of an attack on him, making him out to be a predator, because his was more sexual in nature and trying to undermine his reliability as an advocate as well. I'm not going to go into the details of that because, frankly, it's disgusting and just bullshit, in my opinion. But I'm not going to go any further there. But these are both examples of LRH's fair game directives. If you speak out, you are an enemy. If you are an enemy, they will stop at nothing to silence you. So fair game practices have been used for the past 5 decades in Scientology. So let's look at that. Quote, you are immediately evaluated and originated a black PR campaign to destroy the person's repute and to discredit them so thoroughly that they will be ostracized. The defense of anything is untenable. The only way to defend anything is to attack. The law can be used very easily to harass, and even harassment on somebody will be simply on the thin edge anyway, will generally be sufficient to cause his professional decrease. If possible, of course, ruin him utterly. This is correct protocol. 1. Spot who is attacking us. 2. Start investigating them promptly for felonies or worse. Moves down to 4. Start feeding lurid blood, sex crime, actual evidence on the attackers to the press. Make it rough on attackers all the way. There has never been an attacker who was not reeking of crime. I have a new system worked out to knock them out no matter what they do. We started telling them to investigate newspaper reporters who wrote against us. They have a vulnerability already worked. Several guys have lost their jobs over this. How could they be hurt? All you have to do is spot it, figure out how to cost them their jobs, and make them lose it. We must ourselves fight on a basis of total attrition of the enemy. Just go all the way in and obliterate them. These are L. Ron Hubbard's own words. This is how he told Scientology to handle people that are quote unquote attacking them. These people are not attacking. They are stating the lives that they lived in Scientology. How is that an attack? That is not. That is a testimony to their life. That is their real life events. You cannot tell somebody not to speak out on their real life events. I'm sorry, you are not God. Again, heated. Fair game plays well for the press Scientology and have, for press and for Scientology. Scientology have cooked up many lies, and the press will buy in because of juicy headlines. And that's the biggest problem. On the other side, fighting for the truth, the headlines are less juicy, but the content is truthful and meaningful. This equals less press coverage. Words. Anyway, think of it this way. The biggest, juiciest headlines are what grab your attention. Like if you're standing in line at the grocery store and you're just looking at the rags on the shelf while you're standing in line. The ones that grab your attention are the more provocative, like, oh my God, I can't believe that kind of ones. It's not going to be the ones that are actually based wholeheartedly in truth. A lot of them are going to be these ones that are just bullshit. Now, some of the juicy stuff has truth in it. I give them that. But when it comes down to it, things like this. Press won't cover things like Leah Remini's father is a paid liar of Scientology. That's not going to grab your attention. Or Scientology offers money to attempt to discredit Leah Remini. That's not going to get you to buy that magazine. But things like, see what Leah Remini's father has to say. You're like, that's her dad. What does he know? Or if you see something about Mike Rinder being in a sexual scandal, you're going to be like, I need to look into that. No, you need to look into the actual facts. Listen to the other people. Like, okay, take Mike and Leah out of it. Look at all of the other people that have come out against Scientology. Not even on the show. Look at the news coverage of other places, blogs, other news articles of people coming out and speaking out about Scientology. There are dozens, and I know this because I have so many of them backed up for me to cover in other episodes. And there's an underlying theme. If you start reading more and more of these, if you start watching more and more videos from people that are just independently talking about it, the undercover themes are all the same. You can literally just interchange people into these stories, literally, because they match up so closely. It may be in different areas. It may be with different people, but the same things hold true. They're swindled out of their money. They're swindled out of their lives. They're swindled out of their childhood. Some of these girls, or some of these guys, when they were kids, were molested, and those molesters were protected because you can't sue another Scientologist. People have gone bankrupt and lost their homes, have lived in their cars, have lost everything, and had to start over because of this religion. More people need to speak out about this. The press needs to actually cover these stories because they are juicy when you get into them. But the line may not be juicy. Anyway, fair game has stopped many victims from speaking out, yet the press and the government stand by and let these heinous behaviors continue, which is my biggest thing. I will call out the government every single time. Why haven't you done something? Why haven't you done something? I mean, right now, how many cases are going on against Scientology? I've lost count. I have literally lost count of how many cases are going on against Scientology because there are so many going on. So where is the government stepping in and going, okay, this kind of looks like a RICO scheme here. I mean, they are worse than the freaking mob. The mob's pretty much dead now, but these guys keep running like the mob. But with things like Going Clear, The Aftermath, and other media coverage like the blogs, like YouTube, like other things, Victims are starting to come out, and Scientology is starting to hemorrhage not only people, but also money, because so much is starting to come out that people are like, hold up. What was that again? But unfortunately, you do still have some of these high rollers that are so blindfolded that they keep just giving the money over. Tom Cruise, I swear to God, will bankrupt himself to keep Scientology afloat. Just saying. Victims are starting to become stronger. More and more victims are starting to come out of the dark because of the ones that have already come out. In the end, those that have already lost loved ones are left with the hate-filled scripted videos, the hate-filled scripted letters, everything that Scientology pushed their loved ones to do in the whole disconnection process, in the whole fair game process, in the whole process as a whole. Those are their last memories before their family members passed away. That is sad. What's even worse is a lot of them were unable to gain that closure, unable to close that door due to the hate-driven antics of this religion. So they have to deal with that in their own ways. They're going to have to process that in their own way to come about their own closure. And that is going to be a hard road for a lot of people. So, that is the end of the article. There's some other things that Mike talks about in here. If you guys want to check it out, I will have it linked in the description box down below like I always have. But if you haven't already and you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and ring that bell, because sometimes I do not go off like this, but other times I do. Anyway. In the comment section down below, let me know what your thoughts are about this religion and its way of driving these huge wedges in between family members, and what do you think should be done. And in the description box, I will have this article link in there. Also, Also, my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email are all listed in there. You guys can reach out to me on any of those if you have something you want to talk about, or if you have something you want me to cover. Either way, I would love to talk to you guys. So I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.